Hi, everybody. It's Bigfoot Michigan Rob here. It's not every day that I get to talk about an encounter story sent in from one of our subscribers. Wants to be anonymous. I'm going to call him Jim. The reason that I'm even sharing this today is because this is why I do what I do today. I find this story to be both terrifying and tragic. And again, we have an open ear here at our show if this ever happens to any of you. Dating back to 2016 of May through 2021 of May, we'll call it 5 years, Jim and his family, his wife and three sons, would go camping in Clare, Michigan. Loved the outdoors, the entire family. Jim was not a hunter or fisherman, just loved nature. During these 5 years, though, Jim always thought that when he got into the woods, he had this strange feeling that he was being watched, there was a presence. So he would always bring his eldest son with him and kind of scout around the camp area and just to make sure everything was okay. Now, over this 5 year period, he says in his email that he found like a footprint, appeared to be like 17, 18 inches long. In fact, he said he lined up three $1 bills and they all lined up. That was about the length, and the width was maybe a dollar bill and a half. So a sizable print. He said what he thought, but he couldn't really discern that perhaps there was like two or three toes at the top. And again, only one he's seen over 5 years. During the 5 years, he said he came across structures. He saw trees that were uprooted and that they were turned upside down, crossed into an X. He also saw things that he thought was like a nest, a bedding area. He also noticed tree breaks. He thought it was unusual because they were like 8, 9 feet tall. They were snapped and twisted. This is all going down over 5 years, and he just always was putting this in the back of his head. He knew nothing of Bigfoot or cryptids or anything. He makes mention of this now in the email because after kind of doing his own research, being a follower of our show, it's now adding up for him. So the terrifying part comes in here, and this was in 2021 of May. They had two tents set up, the family. They were split up. I guess the husband in one, the wife in the other with the kids. And nighttime's approaching. They have a fire going. They all decide to turn in for sleep. Jim says he heard something that reminded him of like a baseball bat hitting a tree, making a loud smashing sound. Then he heard what appeared to be like whoops, as he says, or yells or screams, which he was very unfamiliar of or familiar with. And these sounds would get closer and closer to camp. Then finally they stopped. Jim got up, gathered the family, all got in one tent because at this point they're pretty scared. They're all on edge. So they decide to sleep together for the rest of the night. Fire's still going, embers are glowing. They all hunker down, attempt to get some sleep. About 15 minutes into trying to get themselves some shut-eye, the yelling and screaming, the whoops, they get louder and louder and closer. And also the tent is now being pelted with rocks. Everybody is frantic. Yelling, screaming. Rocks are being thrown, hitting the tent. The kids are crying. Then all of a sudden, he hears a running through the camp. Said it sounded like 2 or 3 animals. He makes mention he thinks they're bipedal. He heard heavy footfall slamming into the ground. Then he hears a crash. The yelling and screaming kind of subsides into the distance. He said, Rob, if it wasn't 20 minutes, it was 20 years before he decided to set foot out of the tent again to check out what was going on. Gets up the will to get out of his tent. Can't find the other tent now. He's like, and where in the hell did his tent go? He sees the tent dragged and smashed about 20 yards away from the fire, sitting in the woodline. He looks out into the woodline, over the fire. he sees 3 figures. He says they're maybe 8, 9 foot tall or more, with glowing reddish yellow eyes staring back at him. That's where the story ends. Of course, later on in the email, he says they just packed up, went home. The thing that's tragic about this, you guys, is he's told me he's never going in the woods again. His family does not want to go camping again. What was a 5-year family vacation. And you got to remember, too, May 22nd, May of 2022 is coming up. They'll be their first year in the last 5 years that they're not going to go into the woods. Want nothing to do with it. That's what I find sad. And hopefully anybody that has any sort of issues, any encounters, you know that where you can find us to walk you through it or help you out, because you're not alone. You're not alone with these encounters, these situations. Many of us watching this video have gone through the same thing that Jim and his family has, including yours truly, and Tex. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Tell me what you think. Any suggestions I can talk to Jim on, because he wants me to give him a call. With that being said, we'll see you Thursday on Brunch with Bigfoot. We have Ken Gerhard. Brunch with Bigfoot. Ken Gerhard. Thursday, noon. Check out me and the Bearded Wonder Tex. Love y'all. Be good.